Hello angels, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah Daniela, and this week we are going to be having a little goal setting type hangout. So we are going to make sure that we have the best 2025 yet. So get out your computers. I have mine right here because we are going to be planning a 5-step framework that you are going to implement to make sure that you can meet all of your goals while also having a good balance with everything else that is important to you. Let's get right into this video. So the first step is gonna be you need to make either a Google Doc, a Word document, whatever app you like. And in this Word doc, you are gonna make a couple sections. So girls, now that you have your Word doc made, the first one is gonna be your reflection section, where I'm gonna give you 3 questions that you can ask yourself to make sure that you are not only reflecting on what went wrong, but also realizing the things that went right and the things that you can take with you into the new year. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to reflect on our last year. So I have been hearing this a lot in a lot of podcasts, but the thing that they are not giving you is specific questions that you can ask. So I made a list on my own of questions that you can use to realize what were harder parts of your year and where you want to go. You are going to need 3 sections. The first one is going to be reflecting on the last year, seeing what went wrong, what went right. And then the second section is going to be seeing what was okay, like what can we keep into this next year, what makes sense to keep, what things did you feel good with. And then the last section is the knowing where you're going section, where you are going to make a whole plan of what you want your year to look like, what kind of person you want to be, where you want to live. For reflecting on your past, I personally did what were harder moments and what made these hard. And I think it's really important to realize kind of what went wrong and why these moments were so hard for you. You can use your camera roll to go back, which I did on mine, to really remember the year, because there's so many moments that we forget just because so much can happen. I think allow yourself some time to feel those emotions and to kind of let them pass, and also to let yourself feel happy about the things that did go right this year. And you can't expect yourself to know what to do without having any type of idea or self-awareness of what actually is happening in your life, what actually is going right. For what you want to keep, think about the personality traits that you appreciate in yourself. Think about the routines that added to your life. Think about the changes that you made, and make sure you stick with these things, because sometimes we just have to stick through with things, because not everything is going to feel good at all times. And honestly, we are not the best judge of whether our life is going right or wrong just based off a single moment. And there are stuff you can already take into this year and lessons that you can take. So this section is really important. You can do this in your journal or on a doc, whatever works best for you. And then the last section, which is my favorite because it's just super exciting to be planning our next year, is to figure out where we want to be. So I will tell you the questions that I asked myself when I came up with this. First one I think is super important, which is who I want to be. Now, throughout this last year, I did do this, and I had a Word document about who I wanted to be and my goals and everything. And I think just having like personality traits or character traits can be really important, because sometimes in the moment we may want to act in certain ways, but we can always go back to this and reflect on if this is the person that we actually want to be this year. And finding those character traits, they can be anything, like I put confidence, decisive. It can be things that you already have, things that you want to change. The next question was, what experiences do I want to have? So this question is really important in making sure that we have those kind of big moments this year, those birthdays, those celebrations, those trips. These are kind of those bigger bigger goals, maybe bigger investments. Honestly, when you are planning your next year, I found this with myself. Even when I was just planning it, I kind of was wanting to stop myself from writing down everything that I wanted and just kind of conforming to smaller goals or smaller ideas. But at the end of the day, there is no harm in writing down the things that you actually want to do, even if they don't make sense right now, because you might as well write down anything you want, anything that makes sense for you and speaks to you. And I think too, it is really important with just how social media is. Sometimes we want to make more of an aesthetic life and a life that everyone else around us enjoys, and less a life that we actually feel comfortable with, a life that we actually enjoy, that feels right for us. So when you're thinking about this, make sure you're writing down things that you want from yourself and not that you want others to see in you or see you doing. And then of course, I think relationships is really important. So you need to write down those relationships that are working for you, and those are the ones that you are going to come back to and check on yourself and make sure that you have been spending time with these people, you have been putting in love in them, you have been putting in effort, you're checking in with them. Because if these relationships are working for you, make sure that they are strong, make sure that you keep building them up, because as much as you need to pour love into yourself, it is also super important that you are pouring love into others and that you are building a community around you, because this is a huge part of your well-being and your satisfaction with your life. You can also write down people who maybe you need some distance from, and I would recommend like you write down kind of what's going on with those relationships at this time. Is there anything that you can do to build these relationships to be stronger, or are they simply relationships that are just not working for you anymore? Because my biggest lesson from this year, I think, was as soon as you let the things go that were never meant for you, new things have space to finally come into your life, and you are sending that signal to the universe or to God that you are ready for more and that you are ready for new things. So don't be scared to let go of those things that you don't need anymore. Girls, you are already on your third step, which is going to be creating a day in your life. Now, the reason this is so important is because sometimes we get really focused on these goals that we think we want, but we don't realize what that actually looks like if you're living it day to day. And basically, I put in all of that other information with my reflection into chat, and I asked it to make me a day in my life. And then I kind of went through it and I kept the things that worked and the things that didn't work. So on your Word doc or in your journal, wherever you are, you can make a different section. This will be your day in your life. And this is something that you are going to try to stick to, because it is reflective of all of those goals that we thought of, all of those character traits, all of those good and bad experiences that we had, the things that we want to keep. And basically it tells you how you are going to get to this life that you want to have and the life that you deserve, and that sometimes we get so distracted by, and that sometimes we forget the things that we actually want to be doing, and we just adapt to whatever's happening at that time. Okay, you are on to step 4, which is going to be your goal setting. Now I'm going to help you make actual goals that you will achieve, and I want you to follow the SMART rule. So this means that your goal is specific, it is measurable, it is achievable, it is reasonable, it is in a time frame. Make a list of different sections of goals, which is what I did, and these can all be different for you depending on what works for you. But for my goals, so I did personal development goals, I did career and academic goals, relationships and financial goals, and health and fitness goals. And so for each of these sections, I just came up with a list of goals that I thought I wanted to do, and then updated it depending on if I actually thought that I could achieve these. The other thing that I want you to try to do with all of your goals is to create an action plan. So you can actually do this with AI, and you can ask it to make SMART goals for you with an action plan, and it will do it, and then obviously update it to whatever works for you. And when you are making your goals, the other thing that I want you to do for each goal is make quarters throughout the year. So I made 4 quarters, so that's January to March, April to June, July to September, and October to December. And then each of these quarters have different focuses within each goal. For example, for one of my goals, which was eating healthy, which I have put on so many of my New Year's resolution lists, and I think so many of us do. Now, this is a goal that I think a lot of us just put like that, but it's not really achievable, it's not really measurable. I didn't know if I had actually ate healthier because my goals were not really measurable. So for the quarters, for example, for January to March, I will be focusing on my meal prepping and consistent eating habits, because on December I have fallen off track a little bit with this. And then again, like if you're doing kind of like this eating healthier or a similar goal, make a schedule for those times that you know that you won't be able to really follow through with these goals, because that is natural. And again, you want to stay the most consistent you can, rather than going from 100 to 0 to 100 to 0, not having all of those restrictions or guilty feelings around that, because you know at the end of the day that you will go back to your usual habits, and that you know that those habits are in place with a good intention of making sure that you are feeling your best. And the last thing that I want to say about goal setting is that you want to make sure that you have a good intention behind your goals. Because if your intention is based off some superficial need, or maybe it's something that you just thought of right now quickly, then you won't want to really stick with these, and there's not really a point in actually having these on there. So writing things that are actually meaningful to you, that reflect off again that list of the things you learned, the things that you don't want to take into this year, because your goals don't have to look the same as everyone else's. So if everyone this year is trying to work out more, eat healthier, the things that we try to do every single year, maybe you just had a harder year. So your year this year has to look different than if you had a good year, you're coming off of a good step. So maybe you need more time reflecting, maybe you need to take a break, maybe you need to take vacations, maybe you need more time for reading, relaxation, and you don't need as much time for focusing on stuff like financial or career goals. Or maybe you focused a lot on financial and career goals, and you're realizing that you need a break from that, and you need to focus more on your relationships, and you need to focus more on balance. Okay, my loves, we are on the last step. So for this last step, I want you to create systems for when things get hard. For example, create a list of the days that you are having a hard day. What are things that you know will make you feel better? What are things that you've done in the past and they don't really work for you? They kind of send you onto a cycle where your bad day turns into a bad month. And these are things that you can really look back on, and your acts of self-love where you're saying to yourself, on those bad days, I'm going to show up for myself. I'm going to be there for myself. And these are the ways that I know will work. Because in those moments where we're feeling really low, sometimes we want to resort to things that actually make us feel worse, that actually extend these negative feelings, these negative experiences, and don't allow us to get past them, don't allow us to feel them. Maybe we try to suppress these emotions. So even for myself last year, I would set up times where I could just feel anything that I was feeling at that time. And whether that was sadness, whether that was anger, whatever emotions you feel really uncomfortable with, try to create self-care habits for those really low moments. Getting out of your mind is really important, and getting back into your body. I know for me, this really works. Or maybe for you, you need to talk to someone. So make sure that you write that you need to go talk to a friend or go talk to your family member. If you are someone who maybe isolates, this can be really important. Like for me, I'm going to be trying to do this more this year. And this is just a reminder for yourself. And there are going to probably be harder days where you don't do all of these lists, and that is okay too. But it is important that you have these lists so that you don't into ruts. And then the next thing that I'm gonna get you guys to create is, so in your year you will have these quarters like I mentioned within your goals, and create days or weeks or whatever works for you, or once a month or once a quarter, where you can reflect on where you are and you can really look back at these lists to realize, am I going through with these things? Do I need to change something? Why isn't this working? And making sure that your list doesn't change based off how you were just feeling in that moment, because this is really temporary, and at the end of the day we feel very differently throughout the day. And if you really enjoyed this video, thanks for joining me again this week, and I will be uploading my next video next Sunday. And please leave any comments, don't forget to subscribe and like, and I love you, angels. See you in a couple weeks.